real estate.
Hey, we have good news.
There's good news today.
Yeah, we did not get stuck turning around at Weatherwax and Kibbe.
Well, you weren't
It was-
exactly early though, Laura. Like Bill. Bill was here doing show prep.
Well, I have a lot more to do than he does because he's a
okay.
guy.
Okay. All right.
And the
Actually,
shot-
Bill is really good about getting places early, and I'm not. That is not one of my
Strong suits.
correct.
Okay.
So anyway, but the shout out this morning is to Jackie Austin. It was her birthday yesterday.
No.
Yeah.
it
Happy
was.
birthday, Jackie.
I guess how old she is.
No, don't say that on air. Come on.
I don't think she cares.
You know?
I never guess those things.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Okay? So, all right, but anyway, happy birthday, Jackie. All right, so what are we talking about this morning?
Well, I taught a class in Kalamazoo Monday, Tuesday to the realtors over there, and it was really interesting, especially from a municipality point of view. And they have a township over there, and I don't remember the name of the township, but apparently there was somebody feeding them multiple listing information, and that's where realtors put all their data about what houses are for sale. And they were feeding this one inspector information, and he would look at it. On new listings would come up in that township. He'd look at it and compare the data on the information sheet to what he has on his records. And if there
You talking about
were
assessment records? What records are you talking
whatever
about?
records the building department keeps, and he would compare it. And if there was let's say a finished basement of some sort, and his records showed that there was no finished basement, he would then knock on the door and somehow get them for not pulling permits. And in fact, there was one instance where the realtor said the inspector went through the property and ended up the property owner, who had not put the finished basement in there, had to rip it out, and it was like of a cost of $30,000 to rip it out and put it back in correctly. So with that said, I
So
thought,
put
well,
it back correctly, not put it back incorrectly. You meant back
oh, okay, space.
in correctly, right? the nuances of the English language.
Well, there you go. Anyhow, welcome to my
So
world, Greg.
the issue is when
Yeah, what's the moral to
What-
that?
The moral of the story is, if you've got a contractor that's trying to skirt the issue of pulling permits, or a property owner, and you have a seller's disclosure statement that you're filling out and where permits pulled, you need to find, I mean, there's no sense in skirting. It may cost you more in the long run.
So this work wasn't done properly?
In that one instance, I don't think that was the norm, but I'd hate to buy a piece of property, find out permits weren't pulled, and a contractor went in there or the property owner and did a shoddy job, and then now I'm by it.
You're liable?
Building inspector finds out, and
Okay.
I'm having to cure that problem, whether it's just paying for a permit or whether it's rectifying a construction problem. Thoughts, Bill?
I'm just sitting here listening and waiting for an opening. That's all, Laura.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
so-
there you go.
Yeah, so yeah, but you're worried about more than that. When you're buying a property, you want to verify that all permits have been properly issued and properly applied for and obtained with respect to the improvements on the property. When somebody advertises new kitchen, new family room, whatever it is, it's a simple matter. And I always tell all my clients who are buying a property, I don't care if it's commercial or residential, you go down to the local building authority. If the local municipality has a building department, that's where you go. Many municipalities default to the county building department. You go to the county, you pull the records, they're easily obtainable. You find out what's in those records. You can find out so many things from those records, not just whether permits were properly pulled, but also whether or not they were complaining to the county or to the township or to anybody about problems that they may have had with respect to flooding, sewage problems, whatever it may be. It's a wealth of information.
What do you mean, if I had a flood in
Let
my
me
basement,
finish.
I might complain to the municipality?
Yeah, you go in, you complain to municipalities. A lot of people go first, then it's like you as a city council person, they have a problem with their property, where do they go? They go to their local councilman or their local alderman or whoever it may be and say, hey, I've got a problem, can you solve it? Usually it's not the municipality's problem, but sometimes there's a record that's built there that they're having a problem with whatever it may be. They're complaining because they think their neighbor's property is flooding onto their property because some builder built a new house on it, elevated the terrain, and now they're flooding out. I mean, there's a whole host of issues that you can find out at the building department. And then not just whether or not a permit was properly lifted. And it's not just whether or not the building inspector comes out to tell you that it should have been done by your predecessor. More importantly, it's when you turn around to sell the property, you now represent that all permits have been pulled, or you represent it's unknown. Then the new purchaser goes and finds out that that permit was never lifted. So now you, as the owner, even though you didn't create the problem, you got a problem upon resale of that property because now somebody did their due diligence to find out that the permits were not properly pulled.
What does that mean, pulling the permit?
That means getting the permit, applying for a permit, because so many improvements in municipalities require that in order to be able to make that improvement, the plumbing improvement, the electrical improvement, whatever it may be, that in order to comply with the construction code, and now every municipality has as a minimum the state construction code, they must apply for a permit. The work must, they have to pay for the permit. They have to have specifications or plans submitted stating what it is that they're going to do. The work must be done by a licensed contractor if the work requires a
Who are you
licensed
submitting
electrician.
it to?
To the municipality, to the local building department.
And
Okay.
do you know what kind of trades require?
Yeah,
that-
plumbers, electricians, residential builders. If I'm a residential builder, if I'm making improvements, if I'm building a new house, or if I'm making improvements to an existing residential structure, we have what's known as Article 24 of the Michigan Occupational Code. It's the residential builder's license provision. Every residential builder or person making improvements to a residential structure has to possess a license in order to be able to, one, lift a permit, other than the owner, and that's why some unlicensed people have the owner lift the permit, because as an owner. I
But
can lift the
only
permit.
if it's owner occupied? Or can an owner lift it on a rental unit?
I think an owner can lift it on a rental as long as you're the owner of the property. I don't
So
have
I
to
can do
physically
my
live it.
own plumbing on my own property?
No, you can't do your own plumbing. You're still gonna have a licensed plumber do much of it to verify, or at least have it inspected by a licensed plumber so that it is built to code, because you are not a licensed plumber. But an owner can lift a permit in many circumstances. My point here is if you hire a builder and the builder does not possess a license, that builder can't apply for the license or isn't supposed to apply for the license because they have to indicate what their license number is. But you get so many unlicensed people who profess to be residential builders. They come in and they'll do improvements, remodels, etc., and they don't have a residential license. That's a big mistake on the property owner's part, because among other things, you try to file a complaint with the licensing regulatory agency, and if they're unlicensed, they can't do anything to their license. So that's why you want a residential builder who possesses a license. If they screw up, they do something unethical, fraudulent, negligent, incompetently, you have an ability to file a complaint with the department. I mean, you and I could go on about this particular topic, about hiring people to do improvements to your property. It goes far beyond just verifying that there are permits.
Well, I have an old deck. If I want to replace it, is there a permit that
Yeah,
needs to be pulled?
Yeah, you're gonna have to get a permit. Yeah, if you're doing anything other than simply repairing or maintaining, minor repairs or maintenance, if you're gonna put in a new deck, the answer is yes, you're gonna have to get
So
a permit.
take out the old deck, put in a new deck?
Yeah, among other things, you're gonna have to verify that it meets whatever setback requirements are in place at the time you're gonna replace that deck. The old deck may have been put in and it met whatever setback requirements existed back in the 40s or 50s, if any existed at all. And now you're
We're
gonna
doing
have
a
to
deck
comply.
on one of our rentals, and even the setback,
Even if you have the same
Yeah, if I'm gonna replace the deck, check with the
same
municipality.
measurements?
Yeah, I believe you're still gonna have to. If you're replacing it,
footings.
again, I don't know the code well enough to be able to tell you if you have to or not. The safest course for a property owner to do is to go to the municipality and ask. Say, do I need a permit to do this work? The worst thing you can do is attempt to do it in a hidden or surreptitious fashion where you don't let the municipality know, because farther down the line, it's apt to come to light. Whether, in a deck, for example, the thing I always worry about is put it in, if it doesn't meet code, I'm now having a party that collapses. Guess what my liability is now that I've put in a deck without lifting a permit, without building it to code? Somebody gets injured as a result of the collapse of the deck, I got myself a real problem. So,
I'm putting in a new sink and faucet.
Yeah, most of the time now, under the current code, unless you're simply.
Unless it's the same
Same
sink, I
connection
think.
or something like that. Yeah, but you'd really be surprised at the code requirements with
Right,
respect
new
to
toilet.
replacement of
That's what I was
toilet or
gonna-
sink,
new
et cetera.
toilet?
Yeah.
New
Unless
toilet,
it's
you
the
have to-
same
If I was
toilet.
simply putting a toilet over the existing plumbing, in
Right.
other words, taking the
Yeah.
porcelain, that doesn't require a permit. At least
Okay.
that's my understanding. But if I'm now replumbing,
But
if
check
I'm-
on that, cause I'm not sure that's right.
Yeah, I would
If
check
it's
on
a
it,
different
too.
brand toilet, it may not be right. I don't know. I have these conversations with the city of Jackson.
I mean, I should tell you, over the years, in all the houses I've owned, if I replaced a porcelain toilet simply over the existing plumbing, we all, as,
Well-
I hate to say it as guys, but as homeowners, we knew how to do that, you'd put the ring down, you'd make sure that it was sealed, et cetera. I never thought that a permit was required for that, but again, if in doubt at all, check with the municipality, that's the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
Okay? What?
Who knew?
Why would I need a permit to finish my basement?
I don't, again, it depends upon what the work is that you're doing and whether or not, perhaps the municipality wants to make sure the material you're using is non-flammable. I don't know the answer to that question. Again, check with the municipality. Here's what I'm proposing to do. Many people don't do it too because they don't want the assessor to know. They figure, all right, if I now do this,
Right.
the assessor's gonna find out. Well, there are many improvements that do not increase your assessment. There are exceptions under the General Property Tax Act. And even if it does, I still say you're better off making certain that you have lifted all of the appropriate permits, because you're gonna have a problem on resale if you haven't, and you have potential liability. People try to do electrical work on their own. All of a sudden, that creates a problem. Or they hire somebody who's unlicensed, does the electrical work. It's not up to code, causes a fire. I mean, you're talking about huge potential liability resulting from not doing things properly. The code is there for a purpose. And look, I'm a lawyer. I represent owners, I represent developers, I represent builders. I don't represent municipalities. Nevertheless, I see the merit, the benefits of the municipality's requirements. Sometimes they think that it's over bureaucratic, sometimes it is, but in most circumstances, the code is there as a minimum standard, and in fact, sometimes it pays, and we have personal experience with this, where we'll build things to something which exceeds code requirements, because it has a market value beyond what the code would be.
Right, and the city, third floor building department has a meeting, I don't know how often, but at 6 a.m. in the morning, the whole staff gets there. Unbelievable, and I went to it yesterday and I was quite impressed. And I mentioned to them that we have a property in
Right,
another
yeah.
municipality
Sorry.
where the building inspector, we pulled the toughest building inspector, and I know there's always that one that's the toughest, and we got him on our property, and he had mentioned we had someone come in and do energy efficient insulation, but they installed it unevenly, and the inspector said to me, it doesn't have anything to do with code, I'm just letting you know this is not a very good job. So I appreciated that input as a consumer. Now, the builder wasn't very appreciative of it.
Because the builder had to come in and correct what the builder had done incorrectly.
And I would not have known without the statement from the building inspector.
Which raises another point, and I tell clients this all the time. I say, if you're gonna build a house, you're gonna build a structure, you're gonna make improvements to an existing structure, you hire a contractor, and maybe next week we can talk a little bit about the things you put into a contract, but one of the most important things you can do as the owner is actually physically be there while the work is being performed, or at least there every single day to view what is going on, because the instant that that wall gets covered up, you have no idea whether the plumbing behind it is adequate. Yes, there's going to be a plumbing inspection of the rough plumbing. Yes, there's going to be a rough electrical. But again, if you are relying upon the contractor and the municipality, there's a third cog to this machinery, and that's you as the owner. You have a responsibility to go in and see what's being done. Question, just question, what is going on? Why is this being done in this fashion? Don't hesitate to ask those questions. Don't hesitate to, even though if you think you're going to be embarrassed or you're going to look ignorant, ask the questions. And if you have somebody that's knowledgeable, have them come in and take a look at it.
Hey, we have a caller on permits. Good morning.
Hello?
Hey, we lost him.
What happens if you don't, I'm not a contractor. And so I didn't know that insulation being uneven, because it was the blow-on kind, needed to be even.
Well, like I
And the
just,
contractor's gonna tell me, oh no, it's fine the way it is.
well, as I just mentioned, if you have somebody who's knowledgeable in construction techniques, what it's supposed to look like, have that person come over while it's still in rough stage to be able to take a look at. Because as I say, once the wall goes up, you're pretty much stuck with what's behind it.
And I would guess most municipalities, the inspectors would be happy to come and check out the property owner.
Well,
I think
if they-
most
no, but it-
municipalities want positive feedback from their
And
citizens.
I'm not suggesting the inspector for the municipality, because the inspector, the municipality also has an issue here. They're supposed to inspect the code. They don't have anything to do with what may be over and above code. You just happen to be fortunate in that the gentleman you're talking about took a liking to you and was pointing these things out. But in most circumstances, I think the inspector's walking a fine line. They can't go out on a limb and say, you know, this should have been done in this fashion if it already meets the code. So I think that's the wrong person. It might be a contractor, a contractor friend, an electrician friend, whoever it is
Well,
that you
before we
have.
run out of time, I have one quick question. So if an inspector, if the building department finds out that you built something without pulling permits, do they have the right to come into the property?
Yeah, ultimately they will. They do have the ability to go to court and actually obtain an order allowing access. The code itself doesn't provide them the remedy of self-help. It's not like an environmental statute. If there's an environmental issue, the DEQ in many circumstances has a right to enter onto the property. That's not true of the building inspector. But they do have, I'm trying to think what the authority is under the code or under the ordinances. They can go through a process to get access to the property.
What about an assessor?
The assessor ultimately has an ability to go through, although the assessor's technique is a little bit different in my experience. The assessor will assume that the improvement has been made, show it on the assessment, and then you, the homeowner,
You're
has to
telling me
show
they
up.
can walk right into your
No,
property?
I'm telling you they can't.
Okay.
I'm telling you they cannot. But what the assessor may do, and I've seen this, the assessor says, okay, you're not gonna allow me to inspect, I'm gonna make the assumption that the improvement has been made, and I'm gonna show it on the assessment card. Now it's gonna be up to the homeowner to show up at the board of review and challenge it.
And show that it wasn't done.
Right. So,
Never a dull moment, is there?
No.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think the topic is a really good one. It's particularly relevant now because, you know, the economy's bouncing back. We're seeing people building new houses or buying new houses.
Or renovating because the sun's come out and it's warmed
I was
up.
just about to say, or renovating. You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's right.
Laura.
That's
Okay?
because sometimes
But that's
you don't
pretty,
stop.
That's pretty easy, okay? You know, that's the beauty of our relationship, is she can read my mind. right?
So no open houses this week, do you?
It's Easter.
Right.
I'm coming over to your house.
Oh, come on over. Yeah.
He won't be there, but,
Yeah.
okay.
I do have a price reduction. 1830 Lockmore, which is in the very back part of 340 Farms. Huge. How I define it is ginormous. And it is almost 3,800 square feet on one floor.
Wow, that is ginormous.
Yeah, it's a sprawling ranch. Very large rooms. 5 bedrooms, 4 full bathrooms, full basement. So underneath that 3,800 square feet is another 3,800 square, almost, but because it has a 2-car garage under there.
Right.
Walk out and just a really cool house. It's down to 349,000. Good space for a and nice area,
Sounds very
nice
good.
neighborhood. Go for a walk. Let the kids ride their bike.
Call Laura if you want to find out more.
780-3800.
Thinking Real Estate.